It is Frankie Boyer. So many of you that listen to this program, you have heard him numerous times, and I'm always so thrilled to have him with us. His name is Jay. He has an MBA. He's a certified financial CFP, a CLU, author of Maximize Your Medicare, Education Fellow, Alliance for Lifetime Income. He has a newsletter, which is so fun, and he's with us today. Jay, welcome back as always. So we don't have a whole lot of time because anyone that is on Medicare needs to hear this. So on December, and you tell it better than I can, on December 7th, there's a deadline. It's a hard deadline. And you can't decide on December 8th, or you can't make a choice on December 9th. It has to happen by December 7th.
Sure. Thanks for having me again, Frankie. December 7th is the end of the Medicare annual election period. You have the unrestricted right to choose any Part D plan, which is a standalone prescription plan. You also have the right to change or to apply to become a Medicare Advantage plan member. You can do this as many times as you would like. The last one you select will be the one in effect beginning on January 1st. I tell everyone who has the patience to listen that the key thing about Part D as well as Medicare Advantage plan is every single detail is subject to change every single year. And so for people to get the benefits that they want, the combination of benefits that they value, it just makes common sense to check.
Jay, we have a screwed up healthcare system in this country. It just is. It's messed up. We have a population that does not understand the deleterious effects of the medications that they're taking because it's not properly explained to them. We have doctors that we have dentists that want to fill and drill, not so much as they used to, but when I was growing up, it was fill and drill. We are a society that does not value prevention. We don't understand how nutrition is an integral part of our healthcare system. I could go on and on. But this is the reality this is the reality that we are dealt with. In the next few years, I'm hoping that there will be some significant changes with Bobby Kennedy if he gets through, and I'm hoping he does, with our healthcare system and the way that we practice. I'm hoping that we as Americans will start to have some choices. My question, though, is for someone who is listening to this show and does not use the medical system the way most people do, or not on 10,000 medications like most people over 65. Does it matter to them about this change and the plan that they pick?
It's a great question, Frankie. What I would tell people is that if, for example, someone is a Medicare Advantage plan member, then some of these extra benefits are for overall wellness, your overall health condition, as you were introducing, right? Which is that for some people, to users of the benefits, the dental, vision, hearing, health club membership, other perks in there can be useful, especially for those people who don't require medication and who understand that they, under certain circumstances, change to Medigap depending on their location. And I know in the Northeast it's fairly complicated because every state is governed, regulated slightly differently. This is not, so for example, if you live in Massachusetts, you don't necessarily get to talk to your friend in Vermont and say, I just did this mid-year, mid-stream, because every state will have its own nuance, and Massachusetts is only one. People need, I think that one of the reasons that I like to talk about Medicare to people is that I've heard these types of objection, confusion over the way the healthcare system works. I wrote Maximize Your Medicare to deal with the reality that we have, right? I said, that's all understandable. And that is also a philosophy, right? Jay is not a philosopher. I'm a person who is trying to deal with the practical reality, the one that we have. And that's why I appreciate you so much for having me on. But these changes, these different moving parts will change. I don't think that there's any getting away from that, because which has largely worked in the consumer's favor, because of the simple fact that the sellers, the insurance companies, are competing, and they're competing fiercely for your business, which means that they are trying to come up with combinations that appeal to many. So for that reason, that's why I suggest that people continue to just be aware that in the backdrop are many moving parts, far beyond our simple couple of segments that you and I will spend together. But the bottom line for consumers, it just makes common sense for you to get the most benefits you can for every dollar. And doing that requires you to check.
Do we get covered for acupuncture? Do we get credits for massages or any of that? And do you ever see that happening?
For example, depending on the carrier, acupuncture is covered by certain carriers as certain providers. So you need to have an actual medical reason, one that has to be documented, one that the provider needs to also accept. You can remember, Frankie, decades ago, the idea of acupuncture, acupressure, visits the chiropractor were not generally accepted. That has changed. And federal Medicare may not approve, but Medicare Advantage plans, depending on the plan, as I stated, and the provider can offer this type of coverage for some particular medical situation or ailment that somebody might have. That is still evolving, I would say, for sure.
So there's a wonderful woman in Boston that does a total body detox massage treatment. It's just a whole 9 yards. It is absolutely fabulous. And Cheryl charges, I think it's now probably $300 to $500, around that. For it was that years ago, and I'm sure it's more than that now. She spends hours on massaging the lymphs, and she puts you in a hot tub where you think you're going to scream because it's so darn hot. And the point I'm making is that it is the most comprehensive treatment. And what that treatment does is it renews the body outside in, inside out, in every way. It's crystals, it's light, it's touch, it's everything you could possibly want in hours. This is not just you come in and then an hour later you're done. This is a very comprehensive treatment. It would be ideal in a world where if I ran the healthcare system, we would all have to have one of these at least every corner, Jay. But it's not real. And we have to deal with what we have. For those that have money, you're in a very good position. For those of us that are financially not in a lucrative moment in time, we have to take care of ourselves. And that's why I want Jay on. This is the reality of our world today. That is why you need to read Jay's book. Maximize Your Medicare is the book. Maximize Your Medicare. And J.O., what is the best website?
MaximizeYourMedicare.com for sure. There are contact details there. There's the way to subscribe to Jay's Corner, the name of my newsletter about this.
Frankie Boyer.
And welcome back. It is Frankie Boyer, and I am so thrilled to welcome back J.O., MBA, CFP, CLU, the initials go on, author of Maximize Your Medicare. He's an education fellow, Alliance for Lifetime Income. His newsletter is absolutely Jay's Corner. It's absolutely fabulous. MaximizeYourMedicare.com is his website. And Jay, that's why I've been preaching from the minute I came on air that if we don't take control of our health, nobody else will. And that is the bottom line. We must understand that if we rely on anyone else, it's not going to happen.
The number of stakeholders is so large and fragmented, especially in today's day and age, without an easy solution, a degree to be a common sense infused consumer. That's why I wrote Maximize Your Medicare in the way that I did, meaning that it is meant for every person in every corner of our nation, which is to educate them on what is going on and what the ramifications and how to consider, not only for today, but then the fact that the system is going to change. More people will turn 65 in the United States this year in 2024, 11,200 people a day, more than at any point in American history. And this is going to continue on, meaning that next year will be approximately the same, which is termed peak 65. So we've got a system which is crowded, meaning that the population of Medicare beneficiaries is at an all-time high, over 65 million people.
Wow. And by the way, Face Facts is the name of Cheryl's fabulous place in the South End. I don't know if she's still there, but she was. It was FACE, Face Facts, for the total body from head to toe massage, your scalp, everything. When you go to these very high-end spas and retreats, they do amazing body work. They do breath work. They do yoga classes. They do, you name it. They have chefs. And I have been, through the years, been gifted and granted some wonderful places. And to do this once or twice a year is just an absolute blessing. But it's the everyday that I want to talk about. The reality of every day. And life is messy on a good day, as we know. Life is full of unexpected everything. We need to be prepared financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in every way. Information is key. If you are 65 and older, you need to listen to what J.O. is saying. As a certified financial planner, he also understands money and the importance of your hard-earned dollars. This could be the difference between getting covered and not getting covered. You must understand why his book and his information is critical at this time, because it's going to take you an entire 12 months to change it if it doesn't work out for you this go round. Correct, Jay?
That's correct. Or once you are, for example, in Part D and you allow the December 7th deadline to pass, very frequently I get notices next year. I didn't think about it. I didn't do anything. I realized that my medication is not covered by this plan. What can I do? And unfortunately, I have to deliver the news of nothing. And that Jay is also powerless to assist. I have every bit of ability to help people adjust now. I will have no ability on December 8th. I think 2025 is going to be a more volatile year. I'm certain of it now. It is something that I have been stating on the newsletter pretty much all year, which is that 2025 would be a very complicated year for prescriptions. And that has borne itself out that 1 out of 3 Part D plans that exist in 2024 will not be offered at all in 2025. And certain people have just started to receive these notices within the past week.
So that means that the medication, yes, that means that the medication that you are needing to stay alive may not be covered. And that's not a joke. This is serious stuff. That's why I wanted Jay on before the deadline. So I want everyone, getting information is key. It is critical. I hope you all realize. And by the way, if you think that you can sign up at any time after you turn 65 and you don't want to handle it right now, let me tell you something. You are going to be penalized. Jay, there's some really harsh realities if you are 64 getting ready to turn 65, what's the most important thing people need to do, Jay?
They need to understand or need to determine when they are going to enter Medicare. In this day and age, we've got people working beyond 65, certainly, because they want to delay claiming Social Security. They realize that claiming early means lower Social Security benefits. Some have financial reasons for working beyond 65. These combinations of when to apply for Medicare, do I need to apply, when should I apply? These are very confusing decision points, which can be brand new because, for example, if you work for a large employer, you've not really had to deal with it, right? You've just been told, here's the annual election period, here's the annual period, enrollment period. You've got 2.5 weeks to sign up for health insurance, but company sponsored. Here's the one plan that we are offering. Medicare is entirely different, and you've got to do it yourself. And so now you've got this language where instead of one plan offered by your company, if you live in a metropolitan area and are dealing with Medicare Advantage, you're talking about 60 plans, 60 different alternatives. And where one size fits all is simply a rule that belongs in a museum, it is not one that is practical in today's age. And so now you can, I don't want to strike fear in people either, because once you understand, then the reality is that the satisfaction over Medicare is still ultimately very high. That at that price, the quality, the acceptance of Medicare plans, whether they be Medicare Advantage and certainly in Medigap, is very widespread, and you don't need to tell your doctor too much more, meaning I'm on Medicare, I have Medigap plan X. They will fully understand. And it will largely be in the consumer's favor if they understood what they were doing. And that's the point of Maximizing Medicare. It's not a negative book.
No, but it's important information, critical information.
These options are largely in the consumer's favor. They are. But the rules can be complicated to navigate and understand. And that is the point of Maximizing Medicare for sure.
And Jay, let's not forget the penalties are severe if you don't sign up in time, correct?
That's part of it. Exactly right, Frankie. So if you've retired prior to 65 and you do not enroll, people need to understand that even if they're Mr. or Miss Perfect, that there are late enrollment penalties and they are permanent. And
they don't go away. In other words, 20 years you can live to be 85 and they still are there. You're still paying them. It's crazy, but that's the way it is. Again, the deadline, December 7th, for those of you listening all over the country, those in New England as well are hearing this. We've got to go maximizeyourmedicare.com. J.O. will return. I'm Frankie Boyer. Stay tuned. WCRN, WADK, WGCH, Fort Madison, Iowa, and Fort Hartford, Indiana. Stay tuned. And welcome back. It is Frankie Boyer, WCRN, WADK, WGCH in Greenwich, Connecticut, where I am heard drive time at 6 o'clock in the evening, and Fort Madison, Iowa, and Fort and Hartford City, Indiana. J.O. is with us today, the author of Maximize Your Medicare, which does a few newsletters. This is an updated version of the book, Maximize Your Medicare, the latest version. The website is maximizeyourmedicare.com, jo.substack.com for the newsletter, and it's jaeoh.substack.com. That is for the newsletter. Okay. J.O., we only have one segment left with you.
Sure.
Let's talk about how do we make the changes for this year?
Sure. Depending on where you live. So first of all, separate from my conversation with you, we have a commercial brokerage. So we are a broker nationwide with clients nationwide. So we'd be happy to provide free guidance for people. The only time there would be a fee, we would tell you in advance, you can always say no. And the number of situations is very few because they would have to have important, complicated financial planning situations. Generic, let us check your medications, doctors, to make sure that you have the best fit for Medicare Advantage or Part D plans is no problem. That is without charge. That said, every location, every state also has state-sponsored volunteer centers called SHIP. These persons are not licensed to give insurance advice, but they can certainly help guide you through Medicare.gov and the resources that do exist online. And then I would like to say that the reason that in the bigger picture that we are discussing Medicare is important is because there's a long list of things that people need to consider or do consider when they grow older. Maybe that can be to starting a new career, a second purpose in life, if you will. That one of these is the uncertainty, is to reduce the uncertainty of healthcare costs. So as you may remember, Frankie, when we're 30, when we're 35, you're thinking about increasing earnings. When you're 65, the fact is that we are thinking about reducing spending and liquidating perhaps in an orderly way. And one way of doing that is to not have unexpected healthcare costs that you cannot control. And that creates a great deal of worry and uncertainty. More information, better, so that at least the uncertainty is reduced to the amount that you can reasonably control.
Is it fair to say that I have a friend in Colorado who is late 60s. She gets every kind of healthcare appointment and she never pays or pays very little out of pocket. And I'll talk to her. Where are you off to? Oh, I'm going to the orthopedic surgeon. I want to check something out with with my knee. Where are you off to? Oh, I'm off to the dermatologist. Where are you off to? I'm off. She is constantly going somewhere to a doctor, and she doesn't pay. And she says, why don't you take advantage? There's so much free stuff out there. I don't go to doctors unless it's necessary or for blood work, or I use Ellie. So my situation is a little different doing this radio show all these years, but it's still important for all of us to know that there are services that with the right coverage, you will be covered.
Absolutely. There can be within the plans, this can include many Part D plans as well as inside of Medicare Advantage plans, that the most common generic medications are literally without charge, for example. And these are ones that a lot of the population will know or take. It becomes more complicated when you have more exotic medications, and of course, these weight loss medications are making the world more complicated, no doubt about that.
Can we give out your information again, how people can reach you, and is there a phone someone wants to know?
Sure. The online, the way is maximizeyourmedicare.com, and there are a number of different ways there. There's contact forms, there's an email address there, which is separate from there. It's all there on the website, including many other resources. If someone needs to call, that is toll free at 855-463-9688. And someone will be back to you within 24 hours. In fact, much shorter than that. But we would be happy to get people on the right track when they have Medicare questions. No problem.
Jay, what's the most important thing you want us to know during this period?
I think the messages that we spoke about over the past segments is the fact that the system is going to change. And so even if the particular person's needs don't necessarily change, which they will, but even if everything were exactly the same, that the healthcare system is complicated, evolving, but that doesn't mean negative necessarily, meaning that there can be more benefits and more benefits that you value. Maximize Your Medicare is written for consumers from every background.
And Jay, as we get older as a society, I'm just curious, what's going to happen to all of these tens of millions of baby boomers?
Sure, I think that there's going to be continuing ongoing stress. And I think part of the reason that you have such concern is the fact that Medicare and Medicaid, Social Security, these three federally funded programs take up almost half, if not more than half. And this stress will continue as our average age in the United States continues to increase.
That's just the reality, isn't it?
That is just that's one of these realities, like I said. So that's why I say to people that even if your specific health situation, where you live, is not unchanged, the fact of the matter is we still have 11,000 people a day joining your population as a Medicare beneficiary. So now you are going to have, and then don't get me wrong, we have innovations and possible not workarounds, but solutions, approaches, innovations, hopefully for consumers as well as taxpayer benefit. That remains to be seen, I think.
There's so much information, even on the website. If you go to the website, there is just so many resources, aren't there, Jay?
There are video. Part of the book is Maximize Your Medicare has a YouTube channel. I put some of the videos there on the website for the book. And then in addition to that, there are a number of different steps that people have to take that we discussed earlier. For example, in the enrollment process, that means you need a form that comes from the federal government. We have copies of them. There are a bunch of different other free resources so that people aren't scrambling around to 75 different websites and randomly clicking around trying to find solutions. I tried to provide a place where there's one voice, a consistent, uniform voice, so that they're not confused by different people using different wording. Because words so important. People would talk on the radio and make radio shows and make careers out of words. That's so important, and that's why I made Maximize Your Medicare in the way that I did, so that people can understand Medicare with a unified voice, so they don't get confused and rattled in a very confusing world.
This has been fabulous, as always. Give out that phone number again, please, Jay.
Sure. The phone number is 855-463-9688. That's a toll-free number. And like I said, people either will answer you or we will be back to you within 24 hours. And very frequently, by the way, it will be me, because I like to interact with people just to hear their reactions, their feedback.
Give the number real quick again. Real quick again.
855-463-9688.
J.O., always a pleasure. MaximizeYourMedicare.com. Check it out. Check him out. We'll be back in just a moment. Frankie Boyer, WCRN, WADK, WGCH, Fort Hartford City, Indiana, and Madison, Iowa. Stay tuned.
Yes.